All right, we're going to go ahead and start with this right here. See how far we go. I only get 15 minutes of recording time each time, so I want to make sure I get the best out of this that I can. We're still in section 9.13, and we're going to move on to talking about the lobes of the brain. So if you look on your notes, you'll see that there's the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, and the occipital lobe, and the temporal lobe. These four lobes have a side. There's a frontal lobe here, and then there's the fissure and the frontal lobe on the other side. So the brain is split into two, but there's still the same number of lobes there. Get out my notes and make sure I'm not missing anything here. All right. And so I want you to copy down what's written in each one of these boxes to the corresponding area of what you have in your notes. In other words, on your page there, your notes, it says lobes of the brain, and then it says number 5, frontal lobe. You should be putting down executive functions, thinking, planning, organizing, problem solving, emotions, behavioral control, and personality. Then for number 6, the parietal lobe, you should be putting perception, making sense of the world, arithmetic, and spelling. For the temporal lobe, memory, understanding, language, and then finally the occipital lobe here, you should have vision. That's the easiest one there to remember. All right. And so the cerebral cortex, you need to write in your notes the underlined portion we have here. The cerebral cortex is that thin layer of the brain that covers the outer portion of the cerebrum. It has meninges and gray matter. The cortex is gray. You can read it right there because it lacks the insulation, and it makes the other parts of the brain appear white. With the cerebral cortex, movement or motor function and then sensation or sensory function are all parts of that cerebral cortex that you need to know about. That's about it that I want you to know for that one. All right, so if you look right here, they took a chunk out of this brain. Literally, they just took the top layer off to kind of show you what's going on there. That is your outer layer of your cerebrum. That is the cerebral cortex. So if you were to go down, what is it, like 1.5 to 2.5 millimeters? It's not the longest distance in the world, but if you went down that far, you'd be able to see that that is all the cerebral cortex. The easiest way to see it is right here on this cross section. All the pink up here at the top, it's actually not pink in real life, it would be gray. That is gray matter, and that would be your cerebral cortex. And then underneath it, you would get to the white matter. That's more the part of the brain as well. All right. I just wanted to have some diagrams for you to see there. Inside the brain, there are cavities or hollow areas. Those cavities or hollow areas are called ventricles, and they're filled with cerebral spinal fluid. All right, so this is what it looks like coming from the side. If you were to look at it straight on, this is what it would look like straight on. On your notes there for ventricles, you just need to put that it's 4 fluid-filled cavities of the brain, and they contain cerebral spinal fluid. And we've talked about cerebral spinal fluid before, but now you finally have it on your notes there at the top of your 3rd page there. You need to put it's the fluid that protects and supports the brain. Now you can see it is a complete system. It goes all the way down and all the way back up so that it can flow into and out of the brain and down the spine. Your cerebral spinal fluid covers all of this stuff around your spinal cord, oh my gosh, what is the stupid name of that? Mr. Gresco's having a brain fart right now. Brainstem. There we go. Brainstem. All right. And, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. This guy right here as well. Cerebellum. All right. Yeah. So I want you to watch this Spinal Tap video if you didn't see it. I already showed it to you in class, but spinal taps are cool because this one's a lumbar spinal tap called a lumbar puncture. And the needle is actually inserted between two lumbar vertebrae, and they use it to diagnose things like meningitis or disorders in the nervous system. If it comes out clear, that's good, but they'll still take it and test it to make sure that there's nothing wrong with it. If it comes out milky, that's a problem. That means you have an infection in your meninges or meningitis. Let's see where I am on my recording here. 5 minutes in. Okay, good. All right. So if we talk about association areas, they're where higher level thinking happens. And so your motor functions come from your frontal lobe, but it's the middle part of that frontal lobe. Remember, your frontal lobe is this big old lobe right here, but it's this middle part of your frontal lobe that gives you your motor function. Your sensory things come from your temporal and your parietal. So temporal and then parietal right here are for sensory. And that's pretty common because if you think about where your ears are located and how many things are associated with equilibrium and stuff like that. And then finally, association. That's the very prefrontal cortex here. And that is, not very hard to figure out, all right? So association areas, don't get stuck on thinking that one area is specific for one thing, all right? The pictures here to the side show what happens to your brain when you use your eyes. So if we come over here and look, when your eyes are closed, this is your visual cortex. Do you see how this area here and here lights up? Areas closer to the ears take over the vision, but look at the front part of the brain, how it's just lit up. Well, it's also lit up here. And so you open your eyes and all of a sudden your vision increases, right? But you haven't changed anything as far as brain function. So in order to see, you have to use more of your brain. And then if you're viewing a very complex scene, something that involves a lot of visionary acuity, it requires even more of your brain. So even though we say your occipital lobe back here is responsible for vision, interpreting that, associating it with things involves the entire brain. And that's what we refer to when we mean a associated area. All right, this is a PET scan of the brain. I think it's fascinatingly cool. You get a chance, go ahead and look that up. Look up different images of the brain online. Really, really, really cool stuff. All right. So on your notes there, for number 12, you should have frontal and then middle. For number 13, parietal and temporal. And then for number 14, association would be prefrontal or frontal, however you want to say that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here because I want to cover the brainstem. There's a lot of notes that go along with that, and I don't want to get overloaded into too long of a video. If you have any questions, let me know.